Mr. Cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, here he is.
Great. Yeah, perfect. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it.
I like you saving us from doing work.
Hey, that's what I'm here for, right? But hopefully we can do some work today. We'll do something. But I need some help. So I want you to take out your pointer finger, and just your pointer finger, no other finger, just your pointer finger. And I want you to point to the kid in class who's by far the loudest. Is it me? It's me. Okay, it's me.
Oh, right now?
So there's no consensus. So it's, no. Just in general, if I weren't here, who would be the loudest kid in class? Are the fingers going way over there? All right, so it's this kid. Is that right? Yeah? Wyatt. His name's Wyatt. So Wyatt's the loudest. Okay, so now I want you to point to, who's the person you haven't heard say anything in class all year? Rico? Where's
yeah.
Maybe Rico? You're Rico? All right, you don't have to ruin it. Just stay cool. All right? Who's the person that's going to, when you graduate, is going to have straight A's? No question? It's you?
Oh.
That's good. And who's the person that's most likely to become a race car driver?
Oh, come on.
It's like 20.
Well, there you go. Okay. Yeah, I remember being a freshman at Marana a long time ago. And you come out of the 8th grade, and you're kind of like hot stuff, right? You feel pretty good about yourself, right? I mean, you're wearing a beanie, right? I mean, you felt pretty good about yourself. You know, life was pretty good. And you walk into Marana, and you're like, this is my place. You know what I mean? Like, this is my place. No, you didn't feel that way? Well, I did. I mean, I walked in, I was like,
I was at the top, and now I'm at the bottom.
Yeah.
So you were smarter than me. So I walked in thinking I was still at the top, right? And so I kind of strolled in, and I remember just kind of walking in the middle of the campus and thinking, just like junior high. And then some guy walked by me, and he had to have been like 7 feet tall, you know, and I don't know, he must have drove a Mustang or something, you know, and I'm like, I got a mustache, right? And that was the biggest humbling experience for me. I was like, that guy's a mustache. How do you grow a mustache? You know, and you saw some guy with a tattoo, and you're like, real? You know, you're kind of like, right? But then I realized that I had a lot to learn. I had a lot to learn. In fact, it was like learning my ABCs all over again, right? And so you learned your ABCs in kindergarten. How many of you remember the ABCs? Yeah, maybe a little bit. You're still struggling, right? You're like, I don't know, is it ABCE or ABCD? I'm not sure, right? There's a V in there somewhere. There's a Batman symbol. I don't know, right? Right? So you learned your the number 5. This lesson is brought to you by the number 5. Okay, the ABCs you learned in kindergarten, but what I want to do with you today is help you to learn the ABCs that every freshman should know. And this is your guide to success in high school and beyond. Okay, so all of you, pull out a piece of paper. Pull out a piece of paper. Some of you are overachievers and already had paper out. I don't know, you write a letter, but you got it out, right? Yeah. No, overachiever. A plus, gold star. You pull out a piece of paper and a pen, and we're going to go through the ABCs that you need to learn in high school here in your freshman year to be successful. Wyatt, a pencil works for you, but for nobody else, unless that's all you have. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Pencils are good. Permanent marker is ideal, actually. See, it's funny because you don't write with a permanent marker. Did you get it? See, it's all right. Cool. Just feel free to laugh. Perfect. Wyatt, you're my favorite. Gold star to you too. Okay. So we're going to talk about the ABCs that you need to know because there are certain things that you can do here at Marana High School that will help you, especially the 3 of you, be successful. Promise. Okay. So go ahead and flip it. Okay. So the A stands for ask questions. So what does the A stand for?
Ask questions.
Ask questions. So write that down. A stands for ask questions. If there's one thing that you can learn to do your freshman year that may be the greatest benefit to you through your time in Marana, it would be to ask questions. And if there's one fear that I can help you overcome today or encourage you to overcome, it would be the fear of asking questions. How many of you have been sitting in a class and had the teacher say something that you absolutely did not understand, right? Everybody but her, okay? I'm just kidding. and you didn't ask the question to understand. How many of you have done that? You're quick to raise your hand. You remember, did that happen like last hour? They're just talking about some trigonomic something, and you're like, good, perfect. Okay, if you can ask questions, you can unlock the key to knowledge. You can unlock the key. You can find the key that unlocks the door to success, right? So asking questions. Now go ahead and take it. So the question becomes, how are you going to take control of your education, right? We all know the kid that comes to class. Why don't you scoot your desk forward? I want you to be an example. Come on forward. Come on, you can do it. Yeah, you're doing great. Just keep it coming. Yep, perfect. All right. Okay, I want you to be too cool for school. Can you do that? Too cool for school. Okay, not cool enough. Okay, all right, and the beanie's coming back on. Okay, this kid is too cool for school. Okay, is he taking control of his education? No. He's taking control of his time, but not his education, right? Your time for sure, look great. Education, not so good. So go ahead and move it on back. Okay, so you need to take control of your education. How many people do you know that are the same today as they were in the 7th grade? Raise your hand if you know somebody like that. Raise your hand if you know 2 people like that, 3 people like that. Okay, people that are the same today as they were in the 7th grade. You need to take control of your education. How do you do that? You need to ask questions. You need to be an active learner as opposed to a passive learner. What I mean by active learner means you're coming to school every day with the intention that you're going to learn something new. You don't need to learn 100 things new, but can you learn at least one thing new every day that will help you become better? Okay? Are you using the system, or is the system using you? Right? The system is Marana High School, right? The Marana School District. There's a system here. And if you just come to school every day and lean back in your chair and go to sleep, you can go to school 4 years and never do anything. You can fill 4 years of time, can't you? You ever had a day where you don't do anything? Could you repeat that for 4 years? You give a thumbs up. You've done that, right? Could you do that for 4 years? Is it possible? You'd be bored, but is it possible? Totally possible, right? It's totally possible. If you're doing that for 4 years and you're the exact same person when you leave as you were when you got here, then the system is using you. You will gain nothing from it, but the district will gain something from you being here, right? You're counted as a number. That's great. But go ahead and switch it. But how can you use the system? What do you think? How can you get out of that mode and make it to where Marana High School is working for you and not you working for it? What do you think? You can ask questions. It's perfect. What kind of questions? Yeah. There's a few teachers in the room. How many of you have been to college? You've been to college? Yeah, great. Several times, right? How many, no, look at it. They've been to college, right? How many of you have had a job? You've had a job. Or you have one right now, right? We're here. You've had a job too. Okay? How many of you had life experiences you think these kids haven't had? You probably have. These are great resources. If you would ask them a question a day, I guarantee, take it, money to the bank, that you will learn something that you didn't know before that will help you become better. At that point, you moved out of the realm of you working for Marana High School, and you got to a point where Marana High School is working for you. Is there somebody here that's done something, a teacher or a staff member or a coach or an older student, that is where you want to go? Yes or no? Thumbs up or thumbs down? In life, just in life, that you think you could learn something from? Yeah, I think so. There's somebody, right? And if you ask questions, the system is working for you. So go ahead. So describe to me the difference between a freshman that comes to school because they're supposed to, and they're too cool for school. Like, what's your name? Cole. Like Cole up here with the beanie. Colton, not to be confused with Cole. So Colton up here, right, with his feet on the desk and his beanie down, right? He looked like a kid that came to school because he was supposed to. He's probably going to get in trouble if he didn't. Versus a kid that comes to school, a freshman that comes to school because they want to, right? So partner up with somebody, and one of you play the part of the kid that comes to school because they're supposed to, and you describe your day when you get home, and one of you be the kid that comes to school because they want to, and you describe your day when you get home. And I want you to do that real quick, okay, for 2 or 3 minutes. So partner up with somebody, go, and I want it to be loud, okay? If it's not loud, we're doing something wrong. Okay, so let's talk. Okay, the 3 of you go together. Turn that around, bro. Turn that around.
Loud, buddy. Loud.
Loud.
Yeah. No. Too long. Takes too long. Okay, I want you to. Okay, again, one of you play the part of a freshman that comes to school because they're supposed to, where they're working for the system, and one of you play the part where you're a freshman that comes to school because they want to, and the system's working for you. Okay? Yeah, that'd be hilarious. And you'd be the good one, right? Since you already played the other part. So go ahead. Tell me, what's your game? Repeat. I like that, right? Because nothing changes. Nothing ever changes. Better than that. You're the freshman that becomes the perfect. Yeah. How are they doing? So if you come to school because you have to, what's your day look like? What are you going to do during this class? This? Just kidding. You might work a little bit, not to pass by, right? Just skate by. Are you going to learn anything? Oh no, right? Are you gonna want to be here? Yeah. Are you gonna see how learning vocabulary can help you in life? Oh no, what if you want to be here? What does it look like? How do you sit if you want to be here? Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be that. But I mean, yeah, at least you can be facing that way, right? You probably your eyes are gonna be open, right? Because you want to. Be a little more convincing. Yes. Absolutely. Do you get it though? Does it make a little sense? Okay. So, can you switch on the next one? Okay. Good job, guys. So what is it? What is the person that's here because they're supposed to? What is it like for them? Define their high school experience? It's routine. Nothing's new. Nothing's ever new, right? But what about if you want to be here? What is it like? It's life-changing. It's changing. You're changing. Okay? Go ahead. What do you learn, Mike? Come on, be a little more specific. You learn a lot of things. What kind of things? What are you learning? You're learning life lessons. Yeah? Colton, what'd you say? It depends on your classes. But you can take something out of every class, right? Even if it's what you take away is, okay, see how this is valuable? It's just not for me, right? That's something you can take away, right? You want to have that skill. You want to be well-rounded. If you're the same person when you leave Marana High School as you were when you came in, something went wrong. So I want you to write that down. You need to be different when you leave than you were when you got here. You need to become something different. And one of the best ways you can do that is by asking questions every day. Whether it be from seniors or juniors, kids you look up to, teachers, parents, coaches.
Why do you think students are afraid to ask questions?
I think students are afraid to ask questions because I think that often we worry about how we look in front of others, right? If nobody else is asking questions, why should I ask a question? I think that's one reason. Yeah. You also think what? Yeah, maybe popular culture is telling you not to ask questions, right? I think that's perfect. Thank you for that insight. It's a great insight, right? I think the world would tell you that you're not supposed to learn something, right? That you're not supposed to. No, there's no kid on the movies that, right? That's the cool kid that really wants to become better, right? But I think that if you can break the mold, and if one of you is brave enough to ask questions, I think, especially if the loud kid, right? If you chose today to ask questions, I think everybody else would ask questions as well. Right? Who's the leader in this class? Outside of your teacher? Think about it, right? And it might be you, right? So if you're willing to ask questions, even though nobody else is, other people will follow you. Okay? So how many questions are you asking a day? I want you to think about it. Okay? I want you to think about it, and maybe you could do better. Go ahead. So the B stands for become your best self. So go ahead and write that down. Become your best self. Okay, go ahead. I want to tell you a story about somebody who became their best self. How many of you heard of Paul Robinson? Okay, so it's kind of, you don't need to say anything, but I want to tell you the story of Paul Robinson. This is him right here with the football. Okay? In life and in high school, you need to find your passion. And you may have a lot of passions. What's a passion? Can somebody describe it for me? Colton, yeah, we can't use the word to define that word, right? Your passion is your passion. Good, Colton. A+. Right, well, what is a passion? Something you love to do. Do you have something that you really love to do? What is it? Tell me. What do you love to do? Go.
Basketball.
You love to play basketball. What do you love to do? Awesome. You love to write. What about you, Colton? What do you love to do?
Yes.
You love yes.
Yes.
You love to actively learn. That's your passion. Good for you. Okay.
Okay.
It's what I took away because I could see it in your eyes. I could just see it and I could feel it and I knew. Okay? So follow your passion. In high school, you should be exploring passions. You should be exploring the things that you love to do, right? And maybe you won't be the greatest in the world at it. Maybe it'll just be something you enjoy doing in your free time. But I know in the process, you'll find something that you really enjoy and will be a lifelong pursuit for you. In the case of Paul Robinson, he tried a lot of things, right? He was in the student council. He got pretty good grades. He worked on a cotton farm for a while. But what he found he really loved to do was play sports. And the sport he loved to play more than any, he loved to play football, right? And so he would do things every day that would help him become a better football player. They weren't huge things. He would go jogging, and he would jog up the mountain that was close to his house, right? It's kind of a big thing, but it's a doable thing. He also taught the younger kids in his community how to play football because one, he wanted to give back, and two, he knew that by helping others become better, that he would become better himself. Have you noticed that? When you teach something to somebody else, you become better at that thing? You notice that? Yeah. Yeah. So Paul Robinson went from his high school. Let me tell you a little background on Paul. He grew up in a home that had a dirt floor. When he looked at the walls, he could see outside. He looked at the walls because there were so many cracks in the walls. And in the home that he grew up in, there was no running water. So he had to walk to the canal to take a bath, right? And they had to walk about a quarter mile of a way across the freeway to draw water to use for drinking and cooking and so forth, right? That's where he came from. Pretty humble circumstances, right? Yeah? So Paul came from those kind of circumstances, and he went from high school where he followed his passion, he went to college, which a young black male wasn't supposed to do in the 1960s when he grew up. He went to college, and in college, he became an All-American running back. And then from college, he was drafted into the NFL, and he played for the Cincinnati Bengals, and he went on to become the Rookie of the Year for all of football. Right? The Rookie of the Year. He's one of the best running backs to ever play the game of football. He's in the Hall of Fame for the Cincinnati Bengals in Ohio. Right? It came because he followed his passion and he made a choice to become the best that he could possibly be, no matter what his circumstances were. Do you know where he graduated from high school? Marana High School. Graduated from Marana High School, class of 1963. Right? Went on to play at the U of A, and then he went in and played for the Cincinnati Bengals. He grew up in a house that was just down there by the cement plant. You know, as you're coming down on the freeway and you see the cement plant? So that's where he grew up, in the canal that runs across the freeway. That's what he used to take baths. Right? So what I'm saying is that if you have a passion and you have a dream and you commit to becoming better than you are now, that you will find success no matter what your circumstances are. And a real life example of that is Paul the Straight Runner Robinson, Marana High School. So we were just talking about Paul Robinson, how he graduated from Marana in 1963 with no running water and went on to become one of the greatest football players of all time. Okay? From here, that's you, right? That's you. And you may not go on to become a great football player, but that doesn't matter. If you have something that you believe in and something you're passionate about, and you do your best to become better every day, something small, you can look back on your life and look back on your time in Marana High School and know that you made a difference and know that you became something better. So go ahead. So a quote by Walt Disney. Does anybody want to read this? Wyatt, you got it?
The best way to get going is to stop talking and start doing.
Okay. The best way to get going is to stop talking and to start doing. Walt Disney wasn't the best artist, but he made a choice that he was going to try and draw every day, right? He drew every day until he came up with a really great idea. You know what that great idea was? Mickey Mouse. Who would have thought, right? Some mouse on a boat, that would change the world. But it did, because he started doing something every day. So nothing beats beginning like beginning, right? You want to know what to do? Begin. Begin today. Go ahead. So this is the formula for success that I want you to write down. Think of a goal that you have. Think of a goal that you have and write down that goal. What do you want to be by the time you leave Marana High School? What do you want to accomplish? Doesn't need to be something big, but what do you want to be? Write it down. What do you think? Write it down. Think about it. What do you want to be by the time you leave Marana? Or maybe, if you can't think of what you want to be by the time you leave Marana, think of a career that you want to have. What do you want to do with your life? What do you want your career to be? If you don't know, that's fine. You have time. I just want to show you how this works, okay? You ready? Okay, think of 3 things that you could do today. They don't need to be big, right? Who wants to share a goal? A goal that you have. You love basketball. You want to play in college?
Yeah, and NBA.
You want to play in the NBA? Perfect. Okay, let's start with college. What are 3 things that you could do today to make playing college basketball a reality? Help him think. What could he do? What are 3 things that he could do today? Not tomorrow, but today. Yeah. Study, right? Because you need to qualify to get to college, right? So study. So if you did your homework today, I'm not talking about doing extra papers, but just did your homework today, would that help you to become a college basketball player one day?
Yeah.
All right, great. What about on the court? What are some things that you could do?
Run 2 miles a day.
If you ran 2 miles a day, do you think you'd be in pretty good shape
Yeah.
by the end of the month? I know you would, right? What else could you do? Practice shooting hoops. How many? How many hoops are you going to make a day? What do you need to do to become a better shooter? What do you think? How many shots do you need to make a day? Pick a number. What do you think is realistic?
Maybe 100, maybe
100. Okay, let's say 100 shots a day. Okay, so those are 3 specific things that he could do today. Would it be hard? Would it take commitment? Yeah. Is it possible? Absolutely. So if you did 3 things a day, that's 21 things a week that you would do to make the goal of playing college basketball a reality, or to go to college, right? Or there's a kid in the last class who wanted to become a sheriff, right? If you did 3 things a day, that's 21 things a week. That's about 93 things a month that you could do that you would not have done otherwise to make that dream that you have, that goal that you have of becoming the best you could be in basketball, playing college basketball a reality. But what I really want to show you is that if you commit to doing 3 things a day to the goal of becoming a better person and leaving Marana High School better than you found it, if you did 3 things every day to make Marana better, right? Making the system work for you, like we talked about. That's over 1,000 things that you'll do a year to make this school better, right? How many of you are in the class? 30? So if you committed to do 3 things a day to make your school better, that'd be 30,000 things you could do a year to make Marana better. What would Marana look like if you committed to do 30,000 different things to make it better? What do you think? It'd be pretty incredible, wouldn't it? And just for one of you individually, if you chose to do 3 things a day to make you a better person, to take you to where you want to go, that's over 4,000 things over your time in Marana during your 4 years here that you would do, specific things to cause you to go to where you want to go. It's a lot, right? But it just starts with doing 3 things a day. That's all you need to do. And I know that if you do that, your goals will become realities, right? Your dreams will become possible, and you can make that difference. So the C, so what is A? Reviewing. What's your A? Your ABCs. A is ask questions. Okay, what is your B? Become your best self. You didn't say that very loud. What's your B?
Become your best self.
Become your best self. And then what's C? It's that choices matter. It's that your choices matter. Okay? Go ahead. What would you buy today if I handed you $50,000? I want you to write it down. Get as specific as you can. If I gave you $50,000 what would you buy? And write down how much it costs. Okay? Pens are starting to move a lot faster when you think you have $50,000. Right, on the table, $50,000. Right now? How much that cost? Yeah. What else would you like? $50,000. Yeah? What team? Softball? Wow. All right. All right, so you have $50,000, but let's say that economy's kind of rough. I don't know, go ahead. Flip it. And now actually you only have $33,000. Which would you rather have, 50 or 33? Probably 50, but let's say you only had 33. What would you buy? What would you have to take off your list? What needs to come off the list? If you're saving some of that money, that's going to come off the list, right? Some of that. So what comes off the list? Go ahead, write it down. Start crossing things off. Start thinking, what's your priority? What do you think off the list? What do you think? You're quiet, right? You haven't said if you're going to classes, you're most quiet. You don't have to ruin it. What would you take off the list? This is a choice you have to make, right? What are you going to take off the list? Either college or nice car. And that's a debate? Let's think about it. All right. So actually, I kind of lied. So 33,000. You don't have that. Actually, only have $20,000. What would you take off the list now? Well, this is it. I won't lie ever again. $20,000. What would you have to take off? What would you take off the list? Yeah. Well, is this a hard decision for any of you? No, it's easy. Okay, so we went from $50,000 to $20,000. Which would you rather have, 50 or 20? 50 was 20. Did your list get smaller? No. Not at all. Well, how many of you did it get smaller? For most of you, right? So go ahead and click it. I want to show you that choices matter. As of 2010, these are the national averages. If you were to get a bachelor's degree from college, the average pay, it doesn't matter what college you go to, the average pay of a college graduate would be about $50,000 a year. And let's say that you only got your high school diploma, which is a good thing to do, to get your high school diploma, right? Then the average pay a year when you're in the middle of your career is about $33,000. So that's where your list starts to cut down. And if you made the choice to drop out of high school, which you all have the choice to do, it's presented before you, but I don't think it's much of a choice, you're looking at making about $20,000 a year. And that average is brought up if you're a skilled laborer, right? If you have a skill such as welding or carpentry, you might make a little bit more. But in reality, if you're, make $20,000 dollars, you're probably not going to make that at a restaurant. That's probably the lower end, right? Does that make sense? So your choices matter, right? Not only will dropping out of high school affect you socially and maybe your confidence, a lot of different things, but it really does affect the bottom line, right? Let's go ahead. So what are some big choices that you can make today? And I want to talk to you about it, so be thinking. What are some big choices that you can make now so that you don't have to make them later, right? Because you're all going to have trials that come before you, temptations that come before you, people telling you to drop out, people telling you that you can't do it. But what's a choice that you can make today so that when these choices come up later, you don't have to make them because they're already made? What do you think? What are some choices that you can make? What do you think? Yeah. To absolutely go to college, right? Perfect. If you make that choice now, is it going to be easier to remember that in the future? Yeah, because you have that goal in mind. Perfect. What do you guys think? What choices you can make today? Yeah, go to college. You're thinking that as well? Perfect. Any others? I think making the choice to, maybe not even go to college, making the choice to graduate from high school. That no matter what happens, or how tough the classes are, or whatever other opportunities you have, that you're going to make the choice to graduate from high school, to graduate from out of high school. Right? And it's a choice that you can make. Go ahead. Thanks. Let me ask you this question. What do you want to be remembered for? When you leave Marana High School, when it's all over, and you graduate, and you're out there on the football field, you know, and you go and shake Dr. Murphy's hand, and you're in your cap and gown, what do you want to be remembered for here at Marana High School? I'll tell you the story of Paul Robinson. I talked to some of his classmates, and I said, what do you remember about Paul Robinson? This is a guy that went on to become a national superstar, right? He was on TV. People cheered his name wherever he went. And I expected his classmates to say, well, he was a great football player. You know what they said? They said that he always cared about those that were younger than him. He always tried to help others to be better. This is 50 years later since they walked on the football field, and they said that Paul Robinson always helped others to become better. And that's what he's remembered for. What do you want to be remembered for when you leave Marana High School? I want you to write it down. Even if it's just one word, what do you want to be remembered for? What do you want to be remembered for when you leave Marana High School? Let me ask you this. What do you want Marana High School to be like because you were here? What are you going to do to help Marana High School become better? Why don't you write that down? You have 4 years to do something. What are you going to do to make Marana High School a better place than you found it? Let me go to the last slide. So I just want to talk to you about fence posts, right? We're from Marana, right? And when no matter what way you drove here, whatever community you're from in the district, you saw fence posts today when you were driving to school, right? So for miles and miles and miles, you'll see these fence posts. I'm just going, how many of you have had the opportunity to put in fence posts? A few of you? Okay, let's talk about it. When you put in a fence post, how do you want to organize that, right? What happens if you veer to the left or the right? Yeah, the fence will be weak on that point, right, if you're not in a straight line. And along with that, you put in the first fence post, and that's your guide for all the rest of the fence posts. And when you look at your fence post right here, if you were to stand in front of the one, take your 3 fingers and go like this, close one eye. The goal is you only want to see one finger, right? So put it in front of you like this. You see 3 fingers like this, right? So like this, okay? Yeah, see, the goal is you want to see one finger, and it's the same thing with fence posts. When you look at the first fence post, you want that to be the only fence post you see. Because if you start veering to the left or to the right, over the course of miles, like here in Marana, you'll realize that you'll miss a lot of ground that needed to be covered because it veered away. Does that make sense? Well, it's the same thing with your decisions, right? As a freshman in high school, you have the opportunity to put in that first fence post, and you already have by being here today. By being here today, you put in that first fence post that can be the guide for the rest of the decisions you make. And I hope that at the end of the high school career that you have here at Marana, the end of your college career, and at the end of your life, that you can look back and only see one fence post, to see that your life decisions and your decisions in Marana didn't take you to the left or to the right, but it took you on a straight course to your goal. And that all comes to the decisions that you make because your choices matter. And you can choose to be a success. So let's talk about what's your A? Ask questions. Okay, what's your B? Become your best self. And what's your C? To remember that your choices matter, and the choices you make today as a freshman will affect the rest of your life, but that you can be a success. You can do the things that you want to do. And then Marana High School is already better because you're here. And as you choose to make choices to help the school and to help yourself, that you'll continue to see your goals become reality. So thank you anyway.